The House just passed a bill that could possibly lead to Chinese companies being delisted off US stock exchanges. This could mean companies like Alibaba, Neo, Xpeng, and more can no longer be listed in the US. So what does this mean for these companies, and how likely is delisting of these companies? Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the video. The House of Representatives on Wednesday unanimously passed a bill that sets the stage for delisting Chinese companies on US stock exchanges. All foreign companies with US stock listings have to comply with US audit oversight rules within a 3-year window. This is for all foreign companies, but is mostly targeted toward Chinese companies. So why did the US pass this? US and China relations have been recently strained with embargoes, the potential delisting of Chinese apps such as TikTok, and not allowing the sale of Huawei products in the US over security issues. This is just another step the US is taking in this new Cold War against China. Also, this move makes US investors more confident in what they are investing in. Many of these Chinese companies that are listed on the US stock exchange aren't audited and potentially could be lying to their investors. This was recently seen with Luckin Coffee, which advertised itself as being a Starbucks of China. The company was valued at over $4 billion and had plans to operate 10,000 locations by the end of 2021. After reporting a 6 times increase in quarterly sales, Carson Block, who is a short seller, became skeptical of the rising stock price and the sales, and decided to do some digging. After his research was done, he came out with an 89-page document on Luckin Coffee True Financials. He worked with over 1,000 investigators who monitored sales and foot traffic at Luckin locations, gathering more than 25,000 receipts from customers and providing a detailed analysis of customer behavior. The investigators had even recorded a video of some transactions. The report claimed that Luckin was inflating the numbers of items sold per day by 69% in the third quarter of 2019 and 88% in the fourth quarter. Since all orders are placed through its app, each has a sequential pickup number, but Luckin, the document said, seemed to be intentionally skipping numbers during the day to give the appearance of higher volume. It also concluded that the average cost of items sold was lower than the company had reported. In other words, Luckin looked like fraud. This is one of the biggest reasons for this law requiring Chinese companies to get audited by the US to make sure they aren't fraudulent. Under the new measure, Chinese companies and their auditors would have 3 years to comply with the inspections before trading prohibitions could take effect. If a company looked like it wasn't going to comply, the companies would probably respond ahead of the ban by either going private or moving their listing to a non-US exchange. US regulators are working on another proposal that could allow Chinese auditors to comply with the inspection requirements without violating their home country's law, which limits the sharing of information. The Securities and Exchange Commission could issue such a proposal this month, although it wouldn't immediately take effect. Some Chinese companies have already been preparing contingency plans in light of the heightened scrutiny from the United States. Earlier this year, gaming company NetEase and e-commerce site JD.com, both of which trade in New York, acknowledged the tensions as they announced their secondary listing on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So how likely is it that these companies will actually be delisted? Some smaller companies might just go private or get taken off the exchange if they really don't want to comply, or if there is actual fraud happening. They might not want auditors looking into things, so they will go to another exchange outside the US like Hong Kong. For a majority of companies though, I believe they will comply, as the audit is not that intense as it could be. The audit only has to be done by a certified PCAOB or Public Company Auditing Oversight Board, which they basically audit the auditors to make sure that they aren't looking the other way if a company is committing fraud. So all Congress wants is double checking of the audit companies that are actually auditing these Chinese companies already. The director of economic policy at Veeder Partners, in a note on Wednesday ahead of the House's vote, said the measure is viewed as an appropriate policy response and something the PCAOB has sought for several years now. It is the expectation amongst lawmakers and trade policy watchers that the move will likely not trigger a robust or problematic response from China. She also added that the expectation is that President Xi will abstain from making any further moves until most likely President-elect Joe Biden is sworn into office. The vice chairman of the Chinese Security Regulatory Commission sounded a positive note on resolving the issue at a panel discussion this month, saying it was important to ensure that Chinese companies have access to international capital markets. During the Biden administration, we should be able to resolve the problem, he said. So it looks like China is most likely going to work with the US on this, but are waiting until President Trump is out of office, because he would most likely be tougher in negotiations. Overall, I believe this is a good thing. Chinese companies should have some oversight if they want to list on US-based exchanges. This also discourages foreign companies to commit fraud, since it is easier if there is no oversight, and it is harder for people to know what the company is actually doing. I don't believe any big companies are going to get delisted, and they are most likely going to comply with this law, since it isn't that intense of an audit. All they need to do is get certified by the PCAOB, and they can still use the same auditing firms that they have been. I also think Biden is going to be softer on China, and the Chinese government knows this. This is why they are waiting to respond. Chinese companies can be a great investment, as they are still rapidly growing, but you have to be careful and do your due diligence and only invest in companies that are reputable. This law will hopefully make foreign companies more transparent on what they are actually doing, and if the company is a good investment or not. And with that being said, as always, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to see more.